All right, so good evening, everyone. I am calling the April 19th general body meeting for the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee to order. I will turn it over to Linda, our secretary, for a roll call.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to start with District 6. Corey Edwards.
Here.
Eric Washington.
Here.
Crystal Francis.
Here.
Justin Holliday.
Here.
Paul Conca.
Here.
District 7. I already got Paul. Ed Livingston.
Here.
Lauren Battle. Did we get Lauren? Is she here? Okay. Julie Sugar.
Here.
Okay. Harry Bendari for 8. Harry Bendari? No. Liz Brown.
Here.
Okay. And just Arjun Hamal. Arjun? Nope. Margaret Forte.
Here.
Nina McHugh. Nina? No?
I think she's on her way.
Okay. Danny Blount for 10.
Here.
Danny?
Here.
Good. Jay Julisi? Jay Julisi? No. Dolores Kelly? Dolores Kelly? No. Pat Kelly? Pat? Danielle Smith?
Present. Here.
Starting with 11, Alejandra Ivanovich. Alejandra? Don't see her. Okay, Linda Dorsey Walker, present. John Herbst. John Herbst? Nope. Vanessa Carrington? Vanessa? All right. Tracy Miller.
Here.
Thank you. Bob Benjamin.
I'm here.
Thank you. Tara Ebersol. Tara? Don't see her yet. Sam Moxley. Sam Moxley. Don't see him yet. Mark Weaver.
Here.
Thank you. Jason Garber. Jason. Does anyone see him?
No.
No. Scott Sokol. No. Scott. Jeff
No.
Bonner.
Scott
Yeah.
may still be in the hospital. I'll find
Right.
out, but he may
Okay.
still be in the hospital from his transplant.
Okay. If he's in the hospital, then he has an excused absence.
Okay.
Okay. Jeff Bonner. Don't see him. Katie Dot.
Here.
Thank you. And George. And George. Okay. Let's see. Bishop Barry Chapman. Bishop. I don't see his phone number. Okay. Aisha Khan.
Here.
Thank you. George White.
Here.
Thank you. Charles Sidnor. Charles Sidnor. Anyone see him? No. All right. Now starting with our at-large people, Ruben Amaya.
Here.
Thank you. Nia Duggins.
Present. Good evening.
Thank you. Cheryl Gottlieb. Cheryl Gottlieb.
I just admitted her, so her audio.
Okay, so she's present. Okay, Rashida Gray.
Present.
Rashida, okay, thank you. Samay Kendra,
Here.
thank you. Tamara Lucas. Tamara Lucas, anyone see her? Okay, Danita Tolson. Danita Tolson, don't see her. Mark Brewster, this is our associate members. Mark Brewster. Don't see him. Joan Mangy. Joan. Nana Phillipson.
Here.
Thank you. Charles Smith. Charles Smith. Anyone see him? Bonnie Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Gary English. Gary English. Don't see him. Cornelius Jennings. Cornelius Jennings. David Williams. Dave Williams. And Sebastian Suddy. Sebastian. Okay, don't see him. Who do we have as guests? If I can have the names called out, people who are going to be guests at this meeting.
I am Bruce Harris.
Thank you. From the Board of Elections.
Yes.
Good evening. It's Scott Shellenberger.
And thank you so much. Scott Shellenberger. Who else?
Hi, Nina from District 8 is here.
Nina?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank
you.
Did anyone else come in after I called their name?
Alejandra is here.
Okay.
And Linda.
Mm-hmm.
Jason.
And Jason?
Thank you.
Linda,
Yes.
this is Scott Alupka from District 6. You didn't call my name.
Okay. I thought there was someone whose name, that's why I kind of hesitated. But I think I saw you and I had already put down a check mark. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, anyone else?
Cheryl Gottlieb is here. I think you got her. I'm not sure.
I believe I already have Cheryl. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Ann George, did I call her?
She's not here.
She's not
Not here.
You have
And
Nia, correct?
Yes, that she wasn't coming.
Um,
She had already told me that. Anyone else? All right. Well, it appears we have a quorum, even though we have a number of people who haven't yet arrived, but we do have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And Jeff Bonner is entering the room now.
Yeah, I saw him. Mhm.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have some guests here. So I am going to rearrange our administrative items and we'll go with our guest speakers first because I know they have a busy schedule. So first I'm going to turn it over to Bruce Harris, a member of the Baltimore County Board of Elections, for greetings and any election updates. Bruce, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Crystal, for inviting me to speak tonight and also for your strong leadership of the Democratic Party. So I'm Bruce Harris. I'm a member of the Baltimore County Board of Elections. And I actually served 2 terms on the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee before I got on the Board of Elections. In my second term, I was vice chair of the party, and I really enjoyed my time on the Central Committee. So now I'm on the election board. I've been there, this is my 4th term, and the Board of Elections has 5 members, and the majority is based on who's in the governor's mansion. So right now, it's 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Of course, when O'Malley was governor, there were 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. And one of those terms, I was president of the board. So at this point, it's me as a Democrat and Gloria Mason as the other Democrat, and she's the vice president of the board. She's from Randallstown. And the board has, the actual office is run by Rui Lavoie. She's new, started in December after Katie Brown has been there for a couple decades. So new leadership at the Board of Elections. There's a staff of about 30 that works through the year, updating the voter rolls with new addresses, removing deceased records, scouting and contracting for polling place locations, recruiting and training thousands of election day judges, and so forth. So what's new with this upcoming election? Now that the redistricting maps have been finalized, and we have new boundaries for the county councilmanic districts, state legislative districts, and congressional districts, the next step is the election office is preparing notices for all households where the voters' districts have changed. And in some cases, their polling places changed as well. So those will be going out soon. And since Election Day and early voting changed from June to the new date of July 19th, the primary, some buildings that were available in June are not available now in July. So the office staff is quickly finding alternatives where we can have early voting and Election Day voting. 2 changes I can confirm. The poll that was in Oak Crest Village will be moved to Kearney Elementary School due to construction. And the Towson University poll, which has been busy in the past, is not available in July. So that'll be moved to Carver Center for Arts and Technology High School. And that'll be for both early voting and Election Day. And then other dates to be aware of. So early voting will be July 7th to 14th. And polls are going to be open the same time every day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There were times in the past where there were different hours, weekends and weekdays, but now it's every day is the same, 7 to 8. And then, of course, the schedule after Election Day, that we'll be processing absentee and provisional ballots and 10 days after Election Day. So July 29th, that Friday, will be the finished of the counting, and the results will be complete and certified. Now, Baltimore County has 236 polling places on election, 11 early voting sites, 21 ballot box locations. Plus, voters are going to be able to drop off mail-in ballots at any of the 236 polls on Election Day. So, as you know, the legislature is the one empowered to make major decisions about the election, and every county in the state of Maryland has the same process, the same procedures, the same voting machines. Didn't used to be that way, but now it is. So statewide, we have rules and regulations. And one thing I'll mention is that something new regarding mail-in ballots since the last election. So in the past, a voter had to fill out an application before every election if they wanted to request a mail-in ballot. That was good only for that election. But the new law says that a voter is going to have the opportunity to check off a box, and they can signify that they want to always get a mail-in ballot. So once they do that, if you do a mail-in ballot for this year, you can check off the box and say you always want it, and then you'll always be sent a mail-in ballot. You won't be asked before every election. So that's something new. Another change clarifies the way a ballot is counted or rejected if we get multiple ballots from a voter. So for example, if someone sends in a mail-in ballot and then they forgot, and then a few months later is Election Day and they go to vote a provisional ballot. Well, they try to vote a real ballot, but they're told you already voted. They're given a provisional ballot. They go and fill that out and turn it in. We only count that first one received. So if someone actually mails in 2 mail-ins, which has happened before, only the first one will count and then the second will be rejected. So that's been clarified. And then one more change I'll mention is the election board can start counting ballots earlier than in the past. So we can start processing ballots 8 days before early voting begins. So it used to be we couldn't start counting until 2 days after election day. And that was pre-COVID. But now we can really start 8 days in advance, and getting tens of thousands of ballots in the mail, as you can imagine, is an enormous task. So it really gives the office more of a chance to process them quickly and completely and accurately. So last thing I want to mention is something, because I'm a lifelong Democrat and I care about the Democratic Party. And I looked at some of the registration figures. So this year we have 566,000 active voter records, and 55% are Democrat, 24% Republican, 19% unaffiliated, and about another 2% from other parties like Green and Libertarian. So the number to keep in mind right now, the 55% Democrat. 10 years ago, that was 2011, actually, I've got 11 years ago. The percentage was 59% Democrat. Now we're at 55% countywide. So in that period, we lost 4 percentage points. And what I noticed that unaffiliated gained 6% in that period. So we're losing members to unaffiliated. So it just goes to show the importance of voter registration drives. I know you all are out in the community, spending as much time as you can getting people to register as a Democrat. It's really important. You know, it's great to remind people that in order to vote in the primary, you know, and choose who's going to run in the general election, they really need to register, and register as a Democrat ideally. So unaffiliated actually gained 6% from 13% to 19% of the county voters. Nearly 1 in 5 are unaffiliated. So we need to turn that around. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. You all know these, and how important this is. So I just want to say thank you. I'm always available if anyone has any questions or comments about the election process or the election office or anything I can do to help. Just feel free to contact me, and I'm there for you. I'm, you know, again, we're set up as Republicans and Democrat activists on the board. One thing I'm proud of is that we work together to make a good operational election. And, you know, Gloria and I are watching the Republicans with a, you know, like a hawk to make sure they're doing everything above board. I'm sure they're watching us as well. But we really, you know, do take off our partisan hats when we sit in that room and we're looking at ballots to decide anything that's quirky, which person they voted for, where's the oval filled in or not, and just do the operational things to make it a clean and successful election. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Delegate Jalisi.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Hi, Bruce. How are you? I have a quick question. I have 2 quick questions. One is, when do you think we will see all the districts shown on the Board of Elections website? Because I know some people running in 44 are showing in 12. And I think one of the delegates, John Carton, is not even showing on 11. So when do you think this website is going to be updated? And my second question is, it's kind of related. When do you think we will have maps for the new districts?
Yeah, those are 2 good questions. I just looked on the website myself this morning, and I saw a note that said that all information will be updated by late April or early May, which I don't know why it's taking so long, or what the process is. I can look into that for you, but that's what it says on the state website. So they're still working through it. I'm not sure if it's data entry or verifying information. It does show who's registered at an earlier date and who was dropped out and withdrawn, but there's still gaps there. And the maps are still in process. The maps are taking a while because there's a lot of data to look at street by street, address by address, to see which district they are in based on the lines that were drawn. And it's multiple lines for, you know, someone could have changed congressional versus legislative versus councilmatic. So it's going to take a while. It's really a short amount of time to do the turnaround, considering we have an election coming up really soon. But I don't have a date, but I know they're working on it every day.
Thank you very much.
Mark.
Yeah, first, I observed for most of the last election. I just want to say it was beautiful to see. You had a great process going. Everyone was very serious. It was inspiring, really. But my question is, are you getting more requests from the Republicans to observe? Because I know they're drumming up a lot of suspicion on that side, and I've heard that anecdotally. Are you getting more of them wanting to observe and look over your shoulder?
So we really don't get those requests till closer to election day. So we don't know yet.
Okay.
But it's an open process. Anyone that wants to observe is welcome to come by. They could have a observer sheet for election day itself, or come during the processing of the absentee and provisional ballots. I know some people in this group observed the last time, especially the county executive race, which was so close 4 years ago. And that's the one thing we pray for in the election board, is not to have a close race. Recounts are just crazy and time consuming and tough on everybody. So, we hope that there's some good candidates out there that where the decision is made and it's, more than a couple % difference.
We'll do our best to make it easy. Thanks.
George.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, Bruce. This question is with all that's on your plate already, I just want to give you a little something else to think about. This question has been on my mind now for a while now, but it is, why is it that people's names are put on the ballot by their last name instead of when they register? A lot of times, my name is George White, and I registered way early on. And that's the way the process is right now. But when they put folks' names on the ballots to vote, they put them in order by last name. How can that be changed where names get put on the ballot by the way that people register? If you register first, second, your name should fall first. But just a little something to give you to think about.
Yeah, I think the legislature would have to change that. And that's done in every jurisdiction, alphabetical by last name.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I know where to start at.
Scott.
I just have a sort of a different question. I know that the state legislature, the county council sets the district maps, the district lines. Who sets precinct lines? Do they change at all?
That's set by them as well. That's part of the process.
Okay. Thanks.
So that's all pre-decided by the time we get that, yeah.
Linda.
Oh, okay. Well, I had a question. I actually had two questions. I know that Baltimore County had and utilized 42 ballot drop-off boxes the last election. I, as you know, attend a lot of these meetings, and especially at the state level. And my understanding is that in Baltimore County, we're only going to be using a number in the 30s. Now, I did recommend several locations that raised that number up to the high 30s, but I'm still trying to understand for the life of me why, after we already were the last jurisdiction to purchase our drop-off boxes the last time, something that I had to actually bring to the county executive's attention, inexcusable. Why is it that now in the following election, we're not using all of them? Also, here's the other question. Back in mid-November, an opportunity was given to all of the jurisdictions to request an additional early voting site. That was done at the state level, at the state board meeting in November. Because there was a transition going on in the Baltimore County office at that same time, and kind of in between directors, no request was submitted for an additional early voting site. At least that's what I was told. But that applies to the primary election. That does not prevent us, because there's enough lead time now, to ask for that option to apply to the general election. And the reason I ask is because there is at least one location around Padonia International Elementary School where almost no one has ever voted in the early voting cycle, because they have said that whether it was the Maryland Agricultural Farm or Oregon Ridge, that's just too far away from them. And a lot of them are new Americans who are very anxious to vote, but they don't know how to get there, or they don't have the transportation to get there. And they have asked me on multiple occasions to ask for and fight for a site at that Padonia International Elementary School. Thank you.
Linda, I think you might have brought that up to the board at a previous meeting. And when it was researched, there were not enough people in that area. So when they look at the early voting sites, they're looking at population centers, and they do a circle or radius around the site to have X number of voters to come and come to that. So with all the resources put into a site with personnel, building rental and everything, we need as many people as possible to be able to come to that site. We want to serve as many people. So if somewhere out of the way, or such that there's a smaller population in that area, or it's served by other sites within a certain mile radius, it's either duplicative or there's just not enough people to vote there. But it's something I can look into again. There's a meeting next week and I can ask that question and get the actual facts.
Right. Well, part of it is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you didn't know where the early voting sites are, or that it was an option open to you, and you're a new American, then no, people wouldn't be coming out to vote during that early voting period. Do you understand? And the second question, could you address that about not fully utilizing all of the available mail drop-off boxes, ballot drop-off boxes?
The one thing is we are promoting the fact that there will be you could drop off the ballot on election day at the 236 sites around the county. So there will be sites everywhere in everyone's neighborhood where the voting polls are. The other thing, there's a logistical issue of picking up and emptying those boxes securely all through the day, every day, once they're put out until election day is finished. We used to have help by the sheriff's office, but the sheriff is on the ballot this year, so they can't help us in this election. So we need to use other staff and resources, which are limited to do that securely. So I think if we had more resources, we could do more boxes, but it's just not feasible at this time.
All right, Cheryl and then Danielle, and that's all the questions for the speaker, because we'll be moving to Scott Shellenberger.
Yeah, so I have a statement more so than a question. So specifically, because you mentioned Carver, it brought up for me just a reminder that not everybody is going to be driving to their drop box. Some people are taking a bus or they're within walking distance or whatever. And the Carver Center drop box last time was absolutely not wheelchair accessible. It was set up to be easy to drive up to, and it was impossible to walk to. So that I think needs to be paramount when deciding where the drop boxes go.
Thank you for letting me know that.
Danielle.
Good evening, Bruce. Mine is more like a statement as well. I just want to say thank you for everything that you and Gloria are doing. You're doing an awesome job and a thankless job. So thank you. And you made a great point when you talked about the unaffiliated. I find out that when we go around, especially with young people and in the high schools, most of the young people are doing unaffiliated because of all of the turmoil and everything that's happening and going on. They don't want to be affiliated with either party. They just want to be their own person. And so what we have to continue to stress, in addition to voter registration, is voter education. And like you said, letting them know that if they don't put either a Republican or Democrat, then, or, determine their party, then they won't be able to vote in the primary. So thank you for making that point.
My pleasure. So I did make notes of all the comments that you had, and I will do some research and follow up. And thanks again for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you again. All right, I will turn it over to our next speaker, State's Attorney for Baltimore County, Scott Shellenberger. The floor is yours.
Great, Crystal, thank you so much. Thank you all very much for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm happy to be here. I'm running for State's Attorney again, and this would be my 5th term if I win. A little bit about my office. I run an office with 61 lawyers, so it's a rather big law firm if you think about it that way. I have another 80 support staff. Our budget request to Johnny O last week was just a little over $11 million. So we have a very big office, and it's a very big challenge to run this office. We handle close to 40,000 criminal cases a year. Now, the majority of those cases, about 25,000, are in our district court. So they're lower level crimes, are misdemeanors, but we do handle close to 40,000 cases a year, nearly 3,000 felonies every year. And those are your big crimes, your murder, rape, your robbery. So with that size of an office and with that number of cases, this is not a place, a time, or a job to be learning on the job. This is a job that requires somebody who has a lot of experience. And obviously I have that experience since I've been in office since 2007. Please remember that when I ran for the first time in 2006, a Republican had held this office for over 30 years. Sandy O'Connor had been in office for over 30 years, and she was strongly supporting her deputy, Steve Bailey, a Republican, to be the next state's attorney. And I defeated Steve Bailey with a great deal of help from County Executive Jim Smith. Jim Smith really supported me very much, and he continues to support me. I had a fundraiser just last week, and Jim Smith was there. As he walked in, he started to write a check. I begged him not to, and he insisted upon writing a check to my fundraiser, which I didn't fight too hard. I graciously accepted, but he was there and is still supporting me. Now, my opponent is trying to paint me as somebody that I'm not. While my motto on my bumper stickers and all my signs that you're going to see very soon is tough on crime, I really think that I need to modify it to say tough on violent crime, because that's the place that I'm very, very tough. On lesser crimes, we're actually extremely reasonable in a lot of the positions that we take. So for instance, years before the legislature decided to decriminalize marijuana possession, we had a marijuana diversion program so that small amounts of marijuana that were just possession, we diverted those cases so that they didn't go into the criminal justice system. And that was years before the legislature ever finally got around to decriminalizing marijuana. We were diverting marijuana cases for a very, very long time. Another place where I think we've been extremely reasonable is with underage drinking. As we all know, if we live in the Towson area, there's a tremendous amount of college students who do underage drinking in the bars in Towson. The police are always working, and it was a little worse several years ago, not quite as bad now, but the police were always working to give citations to get them out of the bars. We always diverted those cases. We offered those Towson students the opportunity to do 8 hours of community service, picking up trash in the Towson area in exchange for dismissing those citations. So that's two places where we've been doing what I would consider to be very reasonable things for many, many years. But that's not the only place where we're being what I would consider to be reasonable. Several years ago, there was a thing called the Justice Reinvestment Act. And what that was a big push in Annapolis to change a lot of the laws that had been unfairly treating a lot of the criminals. It lowered a lot of the sentences. It gave criminals an extra look back. That means a chance to go back in front of a judge to lower their sentence. The only prosecutor, or one of the only prosecutors in the state to support the Justice Reinvestment Act was Scott Shellenberger. In fact, right here is an op-ed written in the Baltimore Sun. You can look it up, February 29th, 2016. Maryland public defender and prosecutor both back criminal justice reform. And this was an op-ed in the Baltimore Sun written by the head public defender in the state, Paul DeWolf, and Scott Shellenberger, where we were trying to change the criminal justice rules in the state of Maryland. And in fact, we were successful in getting that changed. And I currently sit on the Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council as the only prosecutor in the state to work on that unit. We just this year, or actually at the end of last year, have launched a drug court in our district court and in our circuit court, where people will be offered drug treatment in exchange for what normally would have been potential drug sentencing to jail. And so we're now launching drug courts in misdemeanors and in some felonies. And so these are problem-solving courts that I have supported for a very long time. We are aggressive in supporting something called U visas. A U visa is when a woman who's the victim of domestic violence wants to come forward and prosecute the person who has hurt her. We can sign a U visa, which allows them to stay in this country so that they can not only testify, but not have to go back to their other country. Most importantly, I was very sorry that Senator Kelly wasn't on our meeting tonight. In 2012, I was the lead witness in what was called the Walter Lomax Compensation Act to give compensation to inmates who were erroneously convicted for crimes they did not commit. And Dolores had tried to get that bill through for 3 years, and it didn't pass until one summer. Dolores and I sat in her kitchen and rewrote the Walter Lomax Act. And in fact, in 2021, I was the lead witness. You can check it in Annapolis. I was the lead witness to ask that they pass that act, and it in fact passed. And the first person in the state of Maryland to receive compensation under that act was none other than Kurt Bloodsworth, a man who was wrongfully convicted back in 1984. And I testified at his hearing in favor of him getting compensation. And in fact, he did. So when my opponent tries to paint me as this, ancient person who does all these terrible things, I've actually been on the forefront of many things that I think are very important. I was actually even the chair for a brief period of time of that erroneous conviction task force who wrote that act to get it passed in Annapolis. Please go to my website and click on Your Voice in Annapolis. And what you will see is a person who testified in favor of expanding hate crimes, expanding citations to be given by police so fewer people are arrested. In 2019, I testified in favor of a law to make sure police save DNA kits for a longer period of time and didn't keep destroying them. In 2017, I was the lead witness to testify that resistance should not be required of a rape victim when they are sexually assaulted. In 2015, please watch the video. I supported a bill called the Second Chance Act, allowing certain defendants to hide their criminal records so they could get a job. Senator Bobby Zirkin did a triple take when I came up and said I was in support of this bill. You can look up all these bills on my website. And I have some tough on crime bills up there. You're going to see those too, believe me. They're important to me also. But I just wanted to emphasize to this group that I'm not the ancient prosecutor that I'm being painted out to be. And I just hit 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you so much. Please use the raise hand feature to ask your question. I see first, and I'm gonna see it on the order that's showing up on my screen, okay? Linda, I see your hand first.
Yes. So, Mr. Shellenberger, you may recall many years ago, you and I worked together on 4 in a row statewide law enforcement training conferences. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And do you recall, usually came at the end of the day when I brought you on, and you spoke to the law enforcement officers during the plenary session, and you asked them to own up to any crimes or other shortcomings they may have. Don't try to cover each other up. Don't try to cover yourself up. Own up to it. Don't put the county or the department in a position where they're trying to defend the indefensible. So I'm trying to understand why a certain person that was involved in a crime, an Officer Laborde, and you know who he is, who's your office was supposed to represent the family, the Christopher Brown family, why it is that that officer not only ended up not being convicted, but is still employed by the Baltimore County Police, especially since 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago, the county executive, in announcing that there would be a new police advisory board, stated that Baltimore County is not going to coddle and hide and protect people, cops that are, committing these violent acts. Okay, so it's great to know that's happening going forward. But what about those that, even though they may not have been found guilty of murder, were still found guilty of causing someone's death through strangulation? What about those officers? Because now there's a new accountability board. And I want to know, would things have been any different, do you think, if that board had existed then? Because I was very disappointed as a person who knew Christopher since he was age 3 and went to court every day as I sat in frustration watching your staff person defend his life.
Well, let's make sure we have all the facts clear. We prosecuted James Laborde for murder. We accused him, and I put one of my best prosecutors on the case to try and convict James Laborde and send him to jail. It was the jury that found him not guilty. And I don't believe that should have happened, but I understand the criminal justice system and how it works, and I have to live by that. Now, once the charges were, he was found not guilty, my role ended. The police department decides who works in the police department and who doesn't. Now, there was a thing, and there still is, a thing called the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. And police officers have a tremendous amount of leeway when it comes to getting fired. And I know that the police department at that time did not want to keep James Laborde, but they did not feel like they had the power to get rid of that. But that's not my decision. I have no say in that. I have no ability to control that. That's completely up to the police chief. And obviously there can be influence by the county executive. Now,
Right.
do I think that would be different now? Number one, I think because of things that have happened all over this country, jurors may be a little bit different in criminal cases. Although I have to remind you all, we prosecuted a police officer named Spivey a few years ago, and I thought things had changed. He had beat someone on the ground, and it was witnessed by somebody in a helicopter, and it was actually on video. And we prosecuted Spivey, and that jury found him not guilty also. But nonetheless, I do think jurors' mindsets have changed a little bit over the last couple of years. I clearly think what happened in Annapolis last year and what's going to happen this year with regard to the police accountability boards, you are going to see a big difference. Now, because the law just went into effect, I don't think they can look back on the board. I think it would have to be only things going forward. But I do think the police accountability boards are very important. The changes to the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights are important. And I think we're going to see even more changes as the year comes up this year. Just so you know, we had the Smart Policing Act a couple of years ago in Baltimore County. And while I was against the original form, I testified in favor of the law that we have now because I sat down with Julian Jones and we helped write the law and we made it a good balance. And we think we had a good law there. And that's the same position I took with police reforms in Annapolis. I tried to tweak things on each side, but I can tell you, Miss Dorsey Walker, or Linda, excuse me, the best thing that ever happened in Baltimore County was body cameras. It has changed everything. And Crystal, I hope you don't mind, I'll go off on a little tangent. 2 summers ago, we launched body cameras. We have 1,463 on the ground. Johnny wants to add another 600 and some. I have 15 people who watch videos every day and shield people's personal information. So 2 years ago, one of my paralegals watched a body camera and was troubled by what he saw. So he sent it to a supervisor who had been a prosecutor for 20 years, who then was troubled by it and sent it to me. And I watched it 3 times and I was troubled by it. It was a middle of the night. A woman was incredibly intoxicated. She was screaming at people off screen. The police officer was trying to get her to calm down. She wouldn't. He finally grabbed her around the throat and jammed her head into a car, a hood, 10 times. Within 20 minutes of me watching that video, I sent it to Internal Affairs. And within an hour, an Internal Affairs file was open and that officer was being prosecuted for excessive use of force. And that happened even though the victim, her friends, and the witnesses never complained. That happened because we had body cameras. And I think body cameras 90% of the time help me, and the other 10% I need to know about. It's a great tool. We use it, and my people are really good with it. Thank you so much for your question.
A lot of people on this call have been state employees, and they know that when state employees get in trouble from a mental health standpoint, they are ordered to participate in employee assistance programs. And what disturbed me most of all, even though he still has his job, he's never apologized to the family, and he's never been ordered to go to anger management or any other mental health program. And that's got to be built into the police accountability group that's being established now. And I hope you will back that part of it.
Sure. So that was Senate Bill 178. Go take a look at it. It requires every police department agency to establish a mental health evaluator, and that anytime a police officer uses excessive force, they have to go get a mental health check before they're put back on the street. So I think we've made a lot of progress, and you can check Senate Bill 178 from the last year. I testified in favor of it, and I worked very hard with Senator Will Smith on getting that passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Shellenberger. How are you?
Everybody, Scott's fine. I have
Okay.
16-year-old interns who call me Scott.
All right, Scott. So when I speak, I always say I'm the voice for the voiceless. I'm speaking for the people. This is not Danielle Smith. This is from individuals in the community and actually all over the place. So I heard you talk about the cameras. One of the questions that I always get from individuals is there like a command center or something to control the cameras? Because there are plenty of instances when the officers turn their cameras off because they don't want something to be seen, or they don't want to have to show up for court and things of that nature. So Is it a possibility that we can have something where you have a command center that controls these cameras so they won't have access to turn the cameras on and off? And then my second and last question is another thing that individuals bring up all the time, this is throughout the country, is that when officers are involved in situations where there is where they may have possibly shot someone purposely, people running the back, we see it all over the news, and they're put on suspension. They're put on suspension with pay. So a lot of individuals feel like they're out here supposed to be serving them, and they may have committed a crime, but yet they're on suspended with the taxpayer dollars with pay. So those are the two questions I get all the time.
Great. So cameras, the statute and the rules require that cameras be turned on when enforcement actions take place. And if they don't turn them on when they're doing enforcement actions, they can actually be disciplined for that. So if you see an officer who's engaged with people in an enforcement action, and that you see they don't have their camera on, you can make a complaint to the police department, and that could potentially be a matter for discipline. With regard to the officer-involved shootings, again, that's a police officer decision, a police chief decision. They have the power to suspend with pay or without pay, depending upon what that police chief wants to do. I, again, have no influence over that. That's completely up to the individual police chief in each agency across the state. And typically, I do see it's suspension with pay. That happens quite a bit.
Okay, my last question has just popped up that I remembered. So an organization I'm a part of, Black Women for Positive Change, a national organization. We worked before the last 5 or 6 years with the bill with Congresswoman Winmore, a de-escalation bill. And this bill is because, a lot of minorities and African Americans are apprehensive of calling the police because of certain things that are happening that are going on. So this de-escalation bill would work with recreation centers, with schools, teachers, the hospitals on how to de-escalate a situation prior to having to call the police. So I would like to send that bill to you and have you look at it and, possibly help us to get promoted, to get congressmen and women to sign, more of them to sign this bill.
I'd be happy to look. Crystal has all my email addresses. I can tell you, again, in those police reform bills that passed last year, I can't remember if it's 178, that was 600 pages long, but it was one of the police reform bills that passed. There is now a requirement that de-escalation techniques be taught at the academy, and they have to be taught at in-service training also. So that is something that is required by law, and each police agency is going to up the ante on de-escalation techniques. And the other thing that's really important is we now have upped our mobile crisis teams. So initially, they tried one team that was available in the central area. Johnny O and I talked recently about how great of a thing that is. And he's going to put one team in the central, one in the west, and one in the east, so that the mobile crisis teams are available. And of course, it's extremely important that mobile crisis be available in the middle of the night, because that's when it all happens. So I know they're looking at that.
Well, I definitely want to thank you for that. And so I'm aware of that. And what I was saying, the de-escalation, if we can have some of maybe the centers, the police stations, sponsor these de-escalation training, because this de-escalation is for the individuals as opposed to the officers, for them to de-escalate it prior to them even having to be called, which will also allow you to work on harder, situations and cases. So I thank you, and I'll get that to you.
I think that would be a really good thing for us to do in the schools. I'd be happy to go to our high schools and talk to our folks about that. I'd be glad to go with you if you want to try and team up in some way.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. We'll do that. Thank you.
And the last question is going to be Danny. Go on.
Yes. Hey, Scott, my question to you has to do with the case of Corinne Gaines, the young lady and her son. Unfortunately, she was shot and killed by a Baltimore County police officer. I'm sure because records show that she has been having incidents with the police department for some time, and I think they did know and recognize that she had mental health issues. So my question to you is, moving forward, knowing what happened in her situation and how she was shot, and the police officer said it was self-defense and all of these things that had happened, and then her son was shot and so forth. Mental health is a big problem these days, a big serious issue these days. And these police officers need to be trained with a mental health piece in their training. And I want to know from you, what are your feelings on that whole situation, how it happens, and what are your feelings about moving forward, knowing that there are a lot of folks who have mental health and they need to be dealt with on a mental health issue as opposed to a criminal. So let me get your take on that.
Sure. So, I mean, that was a very, very difficult case to make any decisions in. I must tell you, I watched that video dozens and dozens of times. I think now there would be a different response to that. That was the SWAT team that was outside of her apartment for a very lengthy period of time. She did have a weapon. I can tell you, I've personally talked to the SWAT team members, and they were very concerned about her son's health and well-being. But we didn't have as robust a mental health team back then. And so I think in this day and age, we would have a better response with a mental health team and a mental health approach. I'm not saying that the SWAT team wouldn't be called, because she did have a very dangerous weapon, but I think the person who would be up front would be somebody who was specially trained in mental health. And what we're trying to do is team a police officer with a social worker who's specially trained, so that we're not just relying on police officers who are specially trained. And that's a program that Johnny O would like to expand. And I talked to him recently when I was making my budget pitch. And even though it's not my budget, I supported that idea with Chief Hyatt.
But also what I wanted to ask you, Scott, is because there was tens of millions of dollars awarded to her family, but I don't think that you charged the cop for that.
That's correct. If you watch the video, which I'd be glad to share with you, well, not glad, but I mean, I would share with you. If you watch the video, she is actually standing behind a wall, raising the gun before they fire that fatal shot. And we made the judgment, and I candidly tell all of you, it was my decision. I candidly made the judgment that it was a justified shooting. And I can only say, if you watch the video, you may agree with me, you may disagree with me.
Yeah,
but I made the call.
I have a problem with your decision, but that's your decision you have to live with. But I have a problem with that. But, as I said, her family was awarded tens of millions of dollars. Her son was shot. I mean, that thing was way out of control.
Yeah, and what you have to remember is my standard is beyond a reasonable doubt, and the civil standard is preponderance of the evidence. So my standard is 98-2, and the civil standard is 51.1 to 49. So that's the difference in the civil verdict.
But the jury watched the tape. The jury watched the tape as well, and they came up with their conclusion, right?
Yes, sir. I agree with you.
Well, there you go.
All right. So we're gonna move on. So Miss Danielle, I see your hand up, but we're gonna have to move on.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Yeah. So if
anybody,
all right,
I'll mute myself. I'll go to the chat and answer any questions that I can.
Okay.
And Danielle, you know me, you can call me.
I will. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you all so very much. I really appreciate your time. And I will now mute myself so Crystal can move on.
Thank you so much for coming. All right, so we're going to continue on with the administrative items. So I'm going to go over to Katie for the financial report now. Katie, the floor is yours.
All right, I'm unmuting myself. I'm going to share a screen. Oh, here we go. Ha, 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 ha. Hold on, it's not letting me find it. They changed it all. Oh my. It goes in here. All right, can you see it now? Can everyone see it? Okay, great. Okay. Here is the treasurer's report for March 2022. If you're having problems with my sound, please let me know. My computer just told me my internet connection is unstable. All right, we started with the administrative account. We had a beginning balance of $989.86. We had the usual expense of a service charge. We're starting in the fairs and festival season, so we had a $75 charge for the Reisterstown Blooming Arts Festival. We had our yearly amount of $149.90 that goes for Zoom. Our total expenses was $227.90. The ending balance for the administrative account was $761.96. Our legislative balance started out with $38,726.37. Again, usual charges we have during the month: service charge, office rent, Comcast, NGP, van fees, and communications for Google. We wrote a check for $2,000 to C. Earl Peak, CPA, for the audit of our financials. It was a total of $3,000. The $2,000 was the last check of the balance due. Mr. Peak also donated an in-kind $2,000 of his fee to the Central Committee because the audit would have been $5,000. Fairs and festivals, to be at the Towson Festival is $900. Our total expenses were $4,303 with an ending balance of $34,423.37. For our cash on hand, it's $35,185.33. And the change from the beginning of March to the beginning of April is $4,530.90. And Linda, I see a mistake. It should say April 1st, 2022 cash in hand. So I'm going to correct that and send that to you.
Okay, sure. I hadn't noticed that earlier.
Okay, great. Any questions?
All right. Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the financial report with the said correction, can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
All right, Ed is moving. May I have a second?
I second it.
George White is seconding it. All those in favor of approving the financial report with the said correction, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much, Katie. All right, I am going to move on here to the party announcements. So I have a couple of links, so please refer to the meeting agenda that I sent out for the links to the various events that I have linked out here. But just want to point out that this Saturday, April the 23rd, from noon to 2 p.m., we will be opening up the Democratic Party headquarters for our, Linda?
We didn't do minutes.
Oh, well, let me get through this, then we'll go to minutes. Sorry about that. We'll be going through up to the open house. So the purpose of the open house is going to be for candidates to come out to drop off their materials and literature, because we do have a couple of festivals that are going to be up and coming that we need to staff the booth like we did during the state fair. We had just a bunch of different literature that voters or residents can come to our table to get. So for all of the candidates out there, please come to the Democratic Party headquarters, 301 Allegheny in Towson, between the hours of noon and 2 this Saturday to drop off your material that you would like us to disseminate at the fairs and festivals that are coming up. Also, this will be the time for volunteers. Volunteers, if you're interested in engaging. Now, just a point of clarity here, the Central Committee does maintain a neutral standpoint during the primary, but once the general election gets going, we put all of our resources behind the candidates that make it to the general. So we want to actually start early with the volunteer recruitment, because we're going to be doing a series of different things. We're going to be doing phone banking. Bruce pointed out a very important point, that we need to start registering folks and encouraging our unaffiliated voters to go ahead and switch over to the Democratic Party. So we're going to be encouraging people to register to vote. And we are continuing to call around to the county, and we really need your support. I have participated with Liz on the phone banks that we've hosted. We're now moving, continuing that partnership with the state party. What's going to happen is Justin Butler will be training folks, if it's their first time, on the phone banking. And we'll also try to schedule some things where we can start to come together in person. Right now, it's still operating via Zoom, but Liz and the party building team are going to be working on some dates where we can actually start to get people to come out to the headquarters to still engage with the state party for our district. I did want to let you know that we are 4th. There's a contest going on. So Baltimore County is 4th in calling around. So you know all the central committees that we have across the state. We're number 4 in phone calls. So we're doing a great job. Let's move on here. The 53rd annual Towson Town Spring Festival is going to take place on April the 30th. Okay, there'll be 2 days, April the 30th and May the 1st. We have a booth there. On April the 30th, it'll be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on the 1st of May, it will be 1 to 6. But please note, we have to set up and break down each day. So we need people to help volunteer. Even if you're not on the fairs and festivals, this is going to be a busy year and it's an election year. We want to make sure that every fair and festival across the county, that there is a Democratic presence. So if you scour the internet or Facebook and you see a fair and festival that's off our radar, like I know there's like the day fairs that some of the neighborhoods have, we want to have a presence at as much as we can. So if you find something, please send an email to Linda, and she will make sure that we can figure out what we need to do to be represented there. Not all of the festivals I know allow political presence, but the ones that do allow it, we will try to be there. If you could please sign up for even if it's just an hour, we want to try to get as many volunteers out as possible from the Central Committee. We'll also be reaching out to, people who have volunteered at the polls before to help. But we don't want someone sitting there for the whole 10 hours. So we really need support from everybody on this, just like we did the state fair. We had a great turnout for that. Voter outreach phone banks. So every Thursday from 6 to 8 during the month of April, I'm encouraging all of our Central Committee members and Democratic Club members to come join the Baltimore County phone bank. You can sign up. I provided the link in the agenda. Again, that was what I was alluding to with Justin Butler leading from the state party, but we'll be calling our counties. The Diversity Leadership Council is going to be hosting a night of community outreach in preparation for the election. So we are calling everyone who is available to help also support our diversity leadership councils. The Young Dems, they're also going to be doing phone banking, targeting our young voters, encouraging them to register. So they'll be gathering at 1 p.m. the 3rd Saturday of every month And of course, training will be provided. The API-DLC Heritage Month event is coming up. So there will be an opportunity to join that for all of those who are interested. They'll be honoring AAPI Women Trailblazer Senator Susan Lee. That's going to take place on Monday, May the 9th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at a physical location. I put the link to purchase tickets there. And then just to save the date, the Maryland Democratic Party Gala, which will sell out, is going to take place on May the 26th. So that deadline is coming up pretty soon. That'll be from 6:30 to 10 p.m. So it's going to be a longer event. I did put the link to the tickets there. Cheryl, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so I just tried to sign up for the Towson Town Festival, and I'm getting an error message. It says that the form can only be viewed by users in the owner's organization. So it's not letting me sign up.
Let me call you back, okay, Cheryl?
Well, Cheryl, we'll work on that and I'll send it out to everyone. I'll resend the link. I don't know what that is. Do you have a Gmail?
I do.
Okay, well, I'll fix it by the time we get off this meeting. I think I know what happened. It's just got to change it from share to with anyone that has a link. I think that's the reason why. So thank you, Cheryl.
Okay.
So I'll change, look at that link really quick. Any other questions about events? This is,
Well, I mean,
we'll get to the Fair Festivals report at the end. So this is just a general party announcement.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. So no questions. Let's go back to the approval of the meeting minutes.
Yes.
So
there was one.
I move they be approved.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Tracy, approved by.
Second by Jay Jalisi.
All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. All right. Linda, did you have a different question?
No.
Okay. All right.
I was just going to add about some more events.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that in the party report. Okay. So I just want to move to an update here that's not on the agenda because it was sent out before I received this information from the Maryland Democratic Party. So basically, just to let you know some of the changes that are happening here. Let me get a chance to open up my document. Give me like a couple of seconds.
Crystal, I actually did have a question. Did they lower the price for Central Committee members to $100?
I don't see that.
So that was just a rumor, huh?
No, they said that they were going to do it in the executive committee meeting. So I will send an email to Eva to see if that's still true and get the answer. For those of you who were talking about the MDP Gala, the general admission is $250 for general admission for that event. So I recall we did request at the executive committee meeting a while back, I think it was in March, if the central committee members could get a rate that is a little lower than the $250, since we'll be at lots of different events. And then our own. So yes, I will get a response to everyone probably by tomorrow. Eva's pretty responsive. Okay, so the election registration for the candidates has closed on the 15th. Just letting you know, based on the redistricting outcome, there will be a couple of different changes based on the last map that was approved for the legislative districts. So originally, these were going to be the districts, and I'm just reading them just for the sake of meeting minutes here. There was going to be District 6, 7A, 7B, 8, 10, 11A, 11B, 42A, 42B, 44A, 44B. Okay, they're in Baltimore County. District 7B is no longer in Baltimore County. And there is now a District 43B. So those changes are going to be going up to the Board of Elections for the new legislative districts as it pertains to the election of the next Central Committee. So I'm just going to reiterate for the sake of our meeting minutes here what the membership composition is going to be. If you recall, back in March, we voted on what our membership composition is. Basically, the population is based on the senatorial district, and that's how we determined how many members. So for District 6, they'll be able to vote for up to 6 members. District 7A, up to 4 members, 8 up to 6, 10, District 10 up to 6, 11A up to 2, 11B up to 4.
Well, it's based on the Senate, so it's just 11, so it's up to 6.
No, I'm going by the how many people can elect from each section.
But that's what I'm saying, because it's based on the senatorial district, not the legislative, they're going to actually put 11 on there and 44 and 42. It does make a difference.
Well, so let me just get through this. I'm going to read the rule. 11A up to 2, 11B up to 4, 42A up to 2, 42B up to 2, 44A up to 2, 44B up to 4, and then 43B up to 2. Okay, here is the rule. Members, this is the rule that we sent to the Maryland Democratic Party based on our meeting. Membership composition. The membership composition for the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee shall be determined by a formula based on senatorial districts not to exceed 6 members. Let me get through this, Linda. Thank you. The formula for calculating the number of Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee members to be elected in each district shall be based on the percent of a complete senatorial district, not partial districts or legislative districts population residing inside of Baltimore County boundaries. Number 2, if any portion of the senatorial district's population resides in another jurisdiction, that portion of the district inside Baltimore County shall be treated as a partial district, and the number of district members to be elected shall be adjusted according to the formula. Okay, a split senatorial district, one in which the entire population of each split portion resides inside Baltimore County, will be treated as one single senatorial district for the purpose of calculating the prorated number of members to be elected in each portion, not to exceed a total number of 6 members among the combined 2 or more portions of the senatorial district. Number 4, the following is the formula to be used for election purposes. Percent of Senate district population in Baltimore County, number of members elected, 0 to 33%, 2 district members, 34 to 66% for district members, 67 to 100%, 6 district members. And finally, 0.5, only registered Democrats in Baltimore County may vote for the election of members to the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee from their respective legislative districts. All right. So what that means is the population for the number of members is based on the senatorial district, and the representation is going to be elected based on their legislative district. Are there any questions?
Yeah, a whole bunch of people on this call right now will be eliminated because of that interpretation. When we worked on it as the bylaws committee, we specifically talked about what Senator Kelly had asked for years ago. And I think Bruce may have been around at that time. When at some point, we went from having the election of people on the Central Committee from the senatorial district over to the councilmanic districts. And Senator Kelly had it changed back through a bill because she said the highest ranking person in the district is the senator, and it should be based on the senatorial district. And the reason it makes a difference is there are several people on this call who live within blocks of each other. And if you say it's based on the legislative district, one or the other of them are going to have to go automatically. Whereas when we were working on this, on the bylaws committee, we were only talking about the senatorial district. So that would be District 44, not 44A versus B. District 42, not 42A versus B. District 11, not 11A versus B. And several people had asked the question about the fact that 10, for example, is just District 10. It doesn't have an A or B. So in order to be fair to everyone, we had said we want to go by what the intent of the original legislation was, is that it was based on the senatorial district. And then if it just so happens to be that there are two people that live close to each other, so long as no more than 3 men are elected and no more than 3 women are elected, that would be the only parameter. It does make a difference, especially with some folks on this call right now.
So Linda, do you have the meeting minutes to reflect that?
I believe so. I'll
Yeah.
have to go back and get them.
Okay, well, hopefully we can get them before we get off this call. Because the meeting minutes were sent to to MDP. Correct.
Well,
Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
well, I'm looking at the bylaws here. I mean, you read them, but so
it's in
the membership. It says the formula for calculating shall be based on the percent of a complete senatorial districts, paren, not a partial districts or legislative district.
No, it's the senatorial district.
Right, that's what I said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that would seem consistent with what Linda was saying, that if, as long as District A, XA and XB are both in the county, they're still considered one Senate district.
Yeah.
We wouldn't split the,
So
that's how I would interpret that.
Go ahead.
We specifically
And
said
in
not
talking-
legislative district.
And in talking with Rui, she seemed to feel like she was going to make that adjustment when they actually developed the ballot. So,
And
but
who
she
is
said the only reason,
Who's Rui?
In charge of the Baltimore County Board of Elections.
Board of Elections.
Rui Lavoie.
Okay. So I will call Eva back. Liz, you have your hand up.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, a point of just so if I'm understanding correctly, something like District 42, which has a section that's in Carroll County, we would have to section that one up. But like if you've got 11A and 11B, what Linda is saying that, it's just 11 with 6 members. That's what we're talking about.
Right. And in 42's case, if you only have, between 42A and 42B, I think you're supposed to have 6 members, correct?
For the total count.
Yeah.
No, it's 42 A, B, and C.
It's only
So
4 members.
You would have 4 members, but it doesn't matter whether you're in A or B, as long as you're in 42, under the Senate, whoever's the senator for 42, as long as you're under that senatorial designation.
But 42C is in Carroll County.
Yeah, right.
No,
That's
that's
what
not
made
correct.
it
It's
6.
just 4 members. That's not correct.
It's only 4 members.
Yes, not 6. The population to determine 6 is based on the senatorial district.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
But for example,
still pull up the meeting minutes on that, what I was talking about. Because I'll have to send that to Eva.
okay, all right.
Okay.
I have to get out of this meeting in order to do that.
No, you don't have to do it right. Well,
Okay.
what do you mean you have to get out the meeting?
In order for me to reduce my screen and bring up the old minutes
Okay.
in a different thing.
Okay, and,
Let me
any,
do it afterwards.
okay, yes, okay, any other questions about that? So I'll reach back out to Eva, to give her those meeting minutes to reflect that. All righty. So we're gonna move on to the subcommittee reports. For the office update, it's just that we're having an open house. I'm going to turn it over to Jason for Unity Dinner. Jason, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So our Save the Day announcement went out. Please disseminate that to as many people as you can. Please start talking to people about sponsoring tables. And otherwise, like once again, as always, try to line up potential gifts for the silent auction. The other thing, of course, again, we're going to need is volunteers down the line, but that's, you know, getting a little ahead of ourselves on that at the moment. We're still working on coming up with a theme, or at least reduce it to something that's easy to roll off the tongue and make it, you know, I guess better for advertising and marketing. The other thing is we're going to be doing the nominations for awards shortly. We'll talk about that. There'll be, I'm assuming, Crystal, we're still thinking that there'll be an email with a Google form at some point in the near future. Crystal?
Wait, say it again?
Email with a Google form for nominations on the awards.
Yes. That's
And
gonna
that'll
go.
be, I think the goal is to have the award winners in place by June, July timeframe, so that those individuals would know, but also to help with pushing ticket efforts. So the award winners would be known. So we may be doing the nominations, I guess will be done by May perhaps, and then the vote maybe in May or June. Right, Crystal?
That is correct.
Okay. Other than that, there's nothing else more to say. We're looking, the website has the save the date up there. It'll be a pay button added there shortly if it's not already there. When I checked earlier, I thought I could not find one, so I'm assuming one is on the way shortly. Other than that, unless anyone has any questions.
Yeah,
Yes,
I thought
Linda.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I thought we had said one of the things we were considering was 50 Shades of Blue.
I actually like that. I was in favor of that, but there were some others that were under consideration, but I think that there was not finality on that yet, and that we were supposed to brainstorm more. I should mention that I will be sending out another doodle poll so that we can set the next meeting to occur within the next 2 weeks for the Unity Dinner Subcommittee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I had suggested it because it represents the diversity of so many different Democrats, and not just racial diversity, but the way we all think and approach. So 50 Shades of Blue.
And that's why I liked it a lot, for the reasons you just said. I thought it was a great idea. But I know that there were some other ones that were being at least addressed, or at the last meeting, we didn't have a consensus quite yet. So we said we would think about it some more. Anybody else with any questions? I see no response. So I turn the floor back over to you, Madam Chairperson.
Jason?
Wait.
Sorry. I had an idea for a gift. I think I emailed you once. I'll email you again. And
yes, no, I got
put something together for you.
Yes, and I've actually discussed that in the subcommittee meeting. Your particular email to me, something that you were putting together.
Okay, I'll put it together.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure.
So with that, we are now officially back to Crystal, our chairperson here, to move on to the other committees. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go to party building with Liz.
Great, thanks. That's exciting to hear that we're number 4 for phone banking, and that should be, I think, kind of motivating for us to try to, get up even higher and show people Baltimore County is indeed number 1. So I'm calling a meeting of the Party Building Committee for next Tuesday, unless I learn that that's when a Democratic club of whatever, if there's a Democratic club that's having a meeting that night, I'll move it. But otherwise, that'll be at 7 o'clock. I'll be sending out an email shortly with the Zoom link. And as Crystal mentioned, we're hoping to have more phone banking coming up, and especially getting really want to get us in person in Allegheny, maybe after we have our volunteer splash with the April 23rd open house. We can kind of get that going. I just think that that'll be a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll stay healthy in the meantime. And there are a number of things to be discussed with the party building committee, just to nail things down for the next 3 months, which includes sending out postcards and other kinds of PR, publicity for being a Democrat and voting in the primary, that kind of thing, and also voter registration and get out the vote for the primary. So there's more to come on that. But if you are on the committee, please mark your calendar. If you're not, you're still welcome to come and discuss with us. Just contact me directly and I'll give you the Zoom link once I've created that. And that's it.
Any questions for Liz?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, Liz, on the 22nd of April, the 10th District Democratic Club, we're hosting a town hall meeting, a legislative town hall meeting. So on that day, that's where we'll be.
That's on Friday?
I thought you said next Tuesday.
I'm sorry. You said, okay. Next Tuesday's the 26th?
Yeah, the 26th. Yeah, we're having a town hall meeting, the 10th District.
Oh, okay. Then I will move it then.
Well, yeah. So that's what we're having. And
I think North Baltimore County might also be Tuesday.
I know they meet on Tuesdays, but I wasn't sure which Tuesday. So I know it's not CBCDC. So yeah, I guess Tuesday's just not a good day. So thanks for letting me know, Cheryl and Danny. So I'll look at another day that week. Probably not Monday, but one of the other days.
Okay, communications. Communications Subcommittee.
Unmute yourself.
I was muted. Yeah, hey guys, we just posted a graphic for the event on Saturday. So if everyone can share that, it's on Facebook and Instagram. Please share that around. Where's Katie? Is she here? She's been really helpful. She made a really great, oh, there you are, Katie. You're on my screen. Katie made a really great graphic for all the gubernatorial candidates, just with like a brief background and like information that people can check out on their website. So hopefully we can have that out on Saturday, because I think it's really useful to give the folks so they can know who all's running in the gubernatorial. And we're going to look to do that now that filing is passed. We're going to look to do that for races across the county in a similar format. As for the newsletter, if you guys could make sure we haven't gotten any submissions to that event form in like 3 months. And I know you guys know a bunch of events that are going on. So please use that form so that we know what events are going on and what events we can publicize. We can't publicize events if we don't know about them. So please use that form. It's really helpful, especially when we do our newsletter, because then we can look at that and see what events are coming up that we can put on the newsletter and share out that way. George, do you have anything else to add?
Just to kind of piggyback this Saturday on the open house, just make sure everybody come ready to take plenty of pictures. Make sure you got your hair done, makeup on, haircuts, and all that good stuff, because we can get some good shots that day. But anyway, when will we be opening up to have our meetings back at our headquarters? That's coming?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just go on. So let me address that now. Yes. So we are going to resume our meetings for in-person June, we're gonna still do hybrid, but folks can, come in person. May is up in the air. We will have guest speakers, O'Malley and Brown, who are running for the general attorney, the Maryland Attorney General. And so they'll be in person at our meeting in June. So, and also it's a point to note that we can probably do it in this meeting. Please don't let me forget. We'll need to suspend our July meeting because of the election. So we can do that this meeting just to get it over with. And we'll do it at the end. Oh, you want to do it now? Let George finish closing out his report.
Oh no, I'm done. Everything is everybody.
Okay.
I'm done.
Well, I was just going to move that we suspend the July meeting.
Okay.
I second that.
So moved by Tracy, second by Danielle. All those in favor of suspending the July Central Committee meeting?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, ayes have it, so we will suspend that. Liz, your hand's up.
Yeah, just a quick question about the open house. You had said something about contacting volunteers. Or is this like all the volunteers that have ever submitted the form? Like we have their emails? Are they getting a separate blast from the main newsletter? Or I was just wondering because that would be great.
Yeah, I put it in the email blast that went out this month, just for everyone, because there may be some people, and as a response to that, some people have signed up now to be volunteers. I think we need to actually go on our website and actually update the form, because I think some of the submissions are saying like for the last election. So we probably need to make some changes on our website. But yes, and the whole purpose of that is to re-engage them early. We're starting to receive phone calls and requests now for remember we did rides to the polls. So
already.
Yeah, already he received his little mailer in the mail from the Board of Elections, and he called and said he's blind and asked if someone can pick him up to take him to the poll. So we're getting requests to volunteer and everything. So what I'm doing now is the folks that are filling out that form, connecting them to our virtual phone banks. Leslie hands up.
Thanks. I just had a question. It's good to see everyone. Happy spring. Last time in the general election, we received, those of us who received election protection volunteer training. Is that something that's going to happen again? And will it be in place for the primaries? Thank you.
Yeah. Jason?
I was copied on an email that yes, those efforts will be getting started again. I don't know that it'll be in place for the primary though. I think the primary is probably more candidate driven than it will be party driven. But it seems to me that unquestionably there will be something going on for voter protection for the general. So if I find out more, I will contact you directly, because I know that you were a very active volunteer last year. And once again, I appreciate your help. So yes, I will follow up. And is Nia here?
Yes, I'm on. Hi, I was trying to unmute, but yes, we are. We will more than likely be pretty active for both the primary as well as the general election. And we will, it'll be closer to the primary that the trainings will be held. But, similar to before, we'll make sure that we disseminate a lot of that information. So, yes.
And certainly, Leslie, if you have a question anytime, you can feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to look into whatever needs, whatever helps get an answer for you when you were looking for one.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right. Any other questions about that? Okay. All right. Before we move on, parliamentarian.
Yes.
Do you have the meeting? I mean, the minutes.
I'm looking at. No, I don't have the minutes.
The minutes, I'm sorry, the bylaws.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's, these are the bylaws
And I'm
last
looking at them. Mhm.
in June. So I
Yep.
want to just reiterate what the bylaws say in terms of our membership so that we can have it for the record.
Mhm.
And we also have to, Crystal, we also have to look at the intent of it.
Right, so I need to respond back to the Maryland Democratic Party
Yep.
that what they sent me was the correct interpretation. So that's why I want to get through this before we move on, because it's getting late and I want to make sure that we have this point clarified.
Okay.
So parliamentarian, can you please read section 5 here, please?
Okay, I have it. It says only registered Democrats in Baltimore County may vote for the election of members to the Baltimore County Democratic State Judicial Committee from their respective legislative districts.
Yeah, but
okay.
I
So
think you're
now that we have that, now I just want this for the record so everyone can see, because I know everyone can't see the bylaws. So I want to go back to the point of the intent so I can respond back to Eva tonight.
Right. The intent was to speak to the issue of people coming from the senatorial district. The only reason that we added in that last sentence that was added in was to clarify that only registered Democrats in Baltimore County may vote for the election of members to the Central Committee, not anyone else. Okay. So this wasn't supposed to mean that you must be designated by that legislative district. It was the emphasis in your interpretation is being put on the wrong thing. It was that is supposed to clarify who has certain rights to do certain things. The main thing was that, as you can see, the term senatorial district is mentioned several times above.
Yeah, that's
because
what
that was the emphasis there.
That was the emphasis for sure. And even when if you look at Article 5, Section 1, number 2, if any portion of the senatorial district's population resides in another, all of it has to do with the senatorial district.
We spent a lot of time discussing this. The emphasis was around the senatorial district.
And even, it talked about even if it was split, so all of those things were focused on the senatorial part of it.
And when I spoke with Rui, she said that even though right now, because they just have to show where people reside relative to their legislative district, she said that on the ballot that she's preparing, it's going to say 10, 11, 44.
That's it. It's not going to break it down with.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, because what I received from MDP is different. That's why I want to.
Yeah.
Why I want to clarify this, because I know earlier in the beginning we were saying that people were in the wrong district and things like that. So I want to be able to appropriately respond. Delegate Jalisi.
The reason that Senator Kelly put it in was because of the emphasis she said should be on the Senate position, the Senate designation.
Okay, Delegate Jalisi.
I was just asking if these bylaws are posted on our website or someplace where people can review it themselves.
No, they're not on the website. They're with MDP, and everybody here has a copy of them.
Can you resend me a copy? I may have missed it.
Everybody should have gotten copies of these for sure, but
just send it to me again.
Yeah, Linda, can you send?
Yeah, I'll send to.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else not have their bylaws?
I'm just going to send it to everyone.
Yeah, just re-forward it.
Yeah. Please check your emails because they will be coming out.
Okay, let's move to fairs and festivals.
Okay, so as you mentioned, we have quite a number of events, and actually, Seme, when you were talking about these things weren't listed, we actually have been discussing them and the dates for the last couple of meetings, and it's in the minutes. So if you want to look at the minutes, you'll see a whole list of fairs and festivals and their dates. Now, added on to the let's see, we're talking about the Juneteenth event that's going to be at the Banneker Center. Juneteenth, by the way, is Saturday, June 18th. That there's another event that's going to take place at Randallstown Library. There was one that was going to potentially take place that was going to be a parade, but now that parade has been postponed to sometime in July, but not July 4th. Because thank goodness, on July 4th, we have to get ready for the Dundalk Parade and the Catonsville Parade. The Dundalk Parade, as everyone knows, is an early morning parade. The Catonsville Parade is a late afternoon event. We also have the Reisterstown Blooming Arts Festival that Crystal talked about, and the Towson Town Festival, which is 2 days. The Sunday day is a shorter day than the Saturday date. So we need multiple people for, I'm trying to get people booked in 3 and 4 hour blocks of time. So look at those dates on your calendar and decide what works out best for you. Of course, we know that the Unity Dinner is coming up on September 22nd, but the African American Heritage Festival that takes place in downtown Towson is going to be September 17, only 5 days before that event. There is also going to be over in the White Marsh and Perry Hall area on June 25th, Saturday, June 25th, a East Baltimore County focused festival or fair. And that is going to be up near White Marsh, and it's going to be from 10 until 3. In between all of that, where I'm going to hope that this time we'll focus mainly just before the general election, we're going to have some car caravans, okay? When we participated in the Randallstown Parade the last time, we decorated the cars. We've been asked to do that again when we participate in the parade. We decorated with a lot of decorations, but we also had motorcades where we went to different parts of Baltimore County. I see that being something that we mostly focus on going up to the general election, since we have so much stuff that we have to do between now and July 19th. And for me personally, definitely between now and August 1st. So as soon as that date takes place, then we'll have more time for sine waves. So just like I set up captains before, and I asked for someone to be responsible for Southwest Baltimore County, and someone else to be responsible for Turner Station, and someone else to be responsible for the Perry Hall area, and someone else to be responsible for the Reisterstown Road area for the sine waves. I'm going to be trying to set up those teams again. And once again, I'll be reaching out to the Democratic clubs, not just to the Central Committee members. So the person in charge of your area may not necessarily be a Central Committee member. It might be someone who has experience doing that before, that's a member of one of the Democratic clubs. When we have the open house on Saturday, I hope we will be inviting all the clubs, Crystal, so that some of their membership will also sign up for some of these time slots going forward. We're going to have a meeting on Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be staying after 2 to take care of some other business that some of us are involved in. And so from 1 to 2, we're going to try to have a fairs and festival meeting. So if you participated before in any of the above, any of those festivals that I talked with you about before, in any of the motorcades, in any of the sine waves, I want us to start planning it out the way we did before, and we would have, as you knew, a calendar that was sent out on a pretty regular basis, letting you know where to go if you were interested in participating in this event versus that. And I know Danita was very much a part of it, and several other people as well. So I thank you all for what you did before. So hopefully and Tracy was part of the sine waves, and Ann. So I hope everyone will still be as interested as they were the last election cycle. And Ratsita and her mom over there in Turner Station, we had a great time with 22 cars over in Turner Station and almost as many cars over in the Southwest area as well. So thank you.
Any questions for fairs and festivals? All righty. So we're going to open it up for the good of the party. Any updates?
Well, just wanted to update people on the For More campaign that we have that I've discussed before. And as you know, we're off and running. For More has taken on a life of its own. We have about 25 different organizations that are affiliated with the steering committee. And we have a good number of you on this call who are volunteers working to get people signed up, on the petitions. And we're going to be exploring a new option that has been brought to our attention recently by the State Board of Elections. So hopefully that will help us out a lot. In addition to that, we have t-shirts available. I have a t-shirt on. We have palm cards. We have yard signs that are available that need to be placed around the county. So if you know of various areas that are high traffic areas in your section of the county, even if you're not a steering committee member, I have the signs available. Okay. So please let me know if you're anxious in supporting it. Some of the legislators who just finished the legislative session last week have already contacted me and said, hey, I want to be part of it. I'll knock on some doors. I'll sign up some people, and I want to be part of making this historic event happen. And we're going to try to make history this year.
Well, speaking of history, we all know that this is the new cycle for the elections. So, back in 2020 in October, we passed a bylaws to where no elected official can hold two elected positions concurrently. So I'm just glad to see so many people that are running for the Central Committee this cycle. And it's very important that we were able to get that done because people are having the opportunity to come on board. And that's really what it's about, to spread it. And I looked and I didn't see any elected official that was running for the Central Committee. I don't believe I saw any, but the fact that we're allowing folks to come on board because they don't have to worry about the elected officials running and holding dual seats. And I just want to say that this is a historic moment. It's not just in Baltimore County, but it's throughout the state of Maryland. And we should all be proud because we all had something to do with it because it started in Baltimore County. So.
Yeah, you can run, but you just can't hold two seats.
Yeah, you can run, but you can't hold two seats.
Yeah.
And, if you're an elected person, if you're a delegate or a senator, why would you run on the Central Committee? So we're just happy that people have the opportunity to run, and it's a historic time, and we're just proud to see it come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and one other thing, if individuals are interested in supporting this very large, we're the only people in the state of Maryland doing this petition effort to change the charter. As you know, it was already done voluntarily by Montgomery County and Prince George's County. If you'd like to contribute, we have a special ActBlue account that is strictly for a ballot issue committee, so that you can go on to our website, voteformore.org, and you can make whatever contribution you'd like to make, or if you'd like to get a t-shirt or any of that. And I want to thank Bishop for being one of the major funders of this effort, as well as others who have made their contributions. But, none of this happens without people contributing money. I started off by contributing my own money, and I've asked for others to join in, and some have, and others are making contributions in other ways. But again, I want to thank Bishop and others who have especially made deep pocket donations.
Amen.
Thank you.
Cheryl.
Yeah, just a quick announcement because I'm not sure we talked about this here. About 5 years ago, maybe, I started a Facebook group. I put the link in the chat, Maryland Progressives Calendar. And the idea was that anybody, not just me, and somehow it turned into mostly me, can post any community groups events, candidate events, so that people have like a centralized place to go and see what's going on. So if I haven't added you, you can request to join. A lot of you might already be in there. And just to clarify, if you post like articles or petitions or fundraisers, those will get deleted if I see them. So it's just events, but it's a nice centralized place for people to go look for things to hook into.
Thank you.
And what's the name of it, Cheryl?
Maryland Progressives Calendar, and the
Okay.
link to it is in the chat. Sonia's been posting for more.
Yeah.
So that stuff's all been getting in there.
Okay.
All right. If there are no other comments, it's 9:01 on the dot.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Moved by Danny.
Seconded, Julie.
Thank you. Second by Julie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And also, please, if you joined in late and you did not get a chance to make folks know that you're here, just drop your name in the chat. And we'll make sure that you are on the agenda the minutes as present. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me stop the recording.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good evening.
Good
See you all
night.
later.
everyone.
And if you could change the permissions on that Google form.
Yes, I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
Hey, I'll call you in about 30 minutes. I'm getting off another meeting, okay?
Okay, all right.
And anyone else that wants to get involved, just
Hey,
go to
Bishop.
Mobilize.
What's up, Bishop?
Mobilize four more. For
You on mute?
Wait a minute, we're still live here, so let me cut the live off. Forgot which button. Give me 1 second. I don't know how.